Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I want to welcome you all to Queens County Residential Services this afternoon. This is our new facility we're about to open for our day program. We haven't quite started our programming here yet, but we're very excited about this, have this facility, and it's great to have you all here today to be able to partake in this wonderful announcement and to see the kind of work we do. So my name is Bill Lawler. I'm the Executive Director for Queens County Residential Services. And it's a great pleasure that the province is coming together today to talk about the services of our NGOs, which are contribute a great deal to our economy, do great work, and provide a lot of services to a lot of people. We see ourselves, even though we are non-government, we see ourselves as partners with government doing the important work that we do. Today, the government is going to be announcing a number of amount of funding for a number of NGOs that work in the field and here in PEI to a variety of groups. I'd like to begin by inviting the Finance Minister, Heath MacDonald, to come forward and say a few words.
Thanks, Bill. Well, it's certainly my pleasure to be here, and I never expected this many people to be here, but and I was told at the back there from a former instructor of mine to keep it short, so I'm going to keep it really short. Greg, that's all right. You know, as a government, and as somewhat new finance minister, coming to events like this is extremely important to us as a community leaders, and giving back in a way that allows, obviously, with PD Day here, the staff, the families, and the organizations to step it up a notch. And whether it's the Autism Society or CNIB or what have you. I was chatting with Natalie on the weekend, and Natalie says, you know, it means so much. Now we have a program or two that we always kind of wanted to do. Now we're going to be able to do it. And those are the types of things we can do as a government. And over the past 2.5 years, I think as I was Economic Development Minister, and every speech I get up to, I was pounding out, you know, we got to grow our economy. We have to keep going in the right direction. And, you know, I get tired of saying it. And the Premier kept saying to me, no, you got to keep doing it. You got to keep saying it. And you say, geez, you got to keep going here. We're growing our economy, and our economy is doing extremely well. And the results of doing extremely well is the result of giving back to organizations that are so important to our communities and so important to the families that are involved. In my previous life, I had the opportunity to work with persons with disabilities, and I always kind of hold that close to your heart when you move on in life, and to see how non-for-profits work, and when budget time comes around and you're looking at staff that you may have to lay off or you may not have to lay off, or new programs you want to develop or programs that you can't develop because of funding. I've been there and I've done that. I've worked closely with CNIB when I built a program called Access Advisor in Prince Edward Island, and so I get it. Our government gets it. We're at a time right now in Prince Edward Island when we're leading the country in several entities, whether it be exports, manufacturing, sales, retail sales, car sales, and housing starts, things like that. For a population of 152,000 people, we're doing extremely well. But it's so important that our government does not forget about the not-for-profits, how they contribute to the economy and society of Prince Edward Island. And so I'm not going to say too much more, Greg. That's about it. But I want to thank you for your dedication, for some of you people here today at PD Day, and for what you do. Sometimes you're the unsung heroes in our communities, and sometimes we don't pay attention to you until it hits us personally, and then all of a sudden it's an issue. And we'll never forget that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister MacDonald. Now I'd like to invite Family and Human Service Minister Tina Mundy to come up and speak to the crowd.
Thank you, Bill, and good afternoon. I'd like to acknowledge my colleague, Minister Bigger, here today. She's got some wonderful announcements today as well that are included with the funding announcements that we're making today. So it gives me great pleasure to be here today at Queens County Residential Service for this important, very important announcement. And Minister MacDonald mentioned that he didn't expect quite a turnout, but I did, because I know how important the work is that all of our community partners do for Islanders, and how many hearts that it does touch each and every day. So whenever there's a little bit of money going out the door to these organizations, they show up and they cheer the loudest. So I want to thank you all for making time today to come out and cheer for the people that you support. As Minister MacDonald said, great news about the economy, and the true test of a government is how they deal with those who cannot help themselves, or those who are less fortunate and who may be more vulnerable than others. And the test is here today with the funding announcement that we are going to make. Because of the strong economy, because of the growth in the population, because of all of the wonderful things that have been going on in the province, I'm pleased to announce that we have over $1 million in funding going to several non-government organizations here today. And Bill made a very good point when he said community partners, because we often talk about non-government organizations, and that is technically, I guess, what the name is, but I view you as true community partners because you are at the table with government. You are advocating for the clients you serve. You know your clientele better than government ever could, and you serve each and every day your population with each and every ounce of energy you have. So you are community partners. You're more than just NGOs, and I think we need to change the term and talk more about our community partnerships. Now, I see my team at the back of the room, and the team that helped prepare my notes for today. And the one thing that they said to me is, Tina, you need to stick to the script, because they know that when it's something that touches my heart, as much as each and every one of you out in the crowd today do, that I will tend to get emotional. So although I do tend to want to speak from the heart, I do want to make sure that I get the message out today, so I am going to refer back to my notes. I'm seeing so many smiling faces out there today, and it's just so wonderful to be able to stand here today and announce the announcements that we have. Each and every one of you, when I called you on the phone to tell you personally the amounts you were getting and that we were listening to your requests, you were over the moon. Don't you cry. I'm looking at some of you back, and there were tears over the phone. So again, it's my pleasure to stand here today. And thank you for all you do. You provide important roles, you provide important services to the clients you serve. We couldn't do it without you. I recognize your staff, your teams, your volunteers. You're all dedicated to serving and helping others, and I commend you for that important work. We, as government, thank you for the difference you make in the lives of Islanders each and every day. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention some of the other initiatives that, as government, we have been able to provide Islanders. We've increased the low-income home repair programs. We've made increases to seniors programs, increases to minimum wage, increases to tax incentives, introduced a grandparents and caregivers program first, a seniors independence program. These are all suggestions that were made by our community partners. They are all suggestions that were made by Islanders, each and every day Islanders. So don't ever think that your government is not listening to you. My grandmother always told me that God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth because he intended me to listen twice as much as I spoke. And I heeded that advice. and we are listening. And I hope that you feel listened to. I thank all of you for sharing your stories with us. We value your stories. We value the lives that you're changing. Now get out there and continue to do the good work you're doing. Thank you all for coming again today.
Thank you, Minister Mundy. Just a few words from our perspective from Queens County Residential Services, what this extra funding can do for us and our clients and our families that we work with. As you all know, anybody who works in a nonprofit organization, there's always the issue of funding. Funding is basically year to year. The opportunity to have some dollars to put towards some special projects or towards continuing with the quality services is vital to making sure the programs continue to function well. In particular, we have a long waiting list for residential housing. We have over 20 people, almost 30 people on a wait list for what we require 24-hour group home placements. And the province has been helpful in helping us to look at doing some funding for staffing for a new group home. However, at the same time, we have to find the dollars to be able to build a home, to be able to get the money to do that. And so certainly some of the money that's coming here certainly we put forward to try to help us with this housing initiative, which makes a big difference to families that are looking for a spot for often their son or daughter. We have families that at one end are aging out and finding that they can no longer take care of their adult son or daughter. And we have other younger people coming out of the school system that need 24-hour housing. The families are looking for spots for them to live, to have a life of their own. So there's a lot of demand for such services. So without this kind of extra support, that these kind of initiatives cannot go forward. And I'm sure if I talk to the other NGOs that are here today, they would say that it's important that government looks towards this group, these organizations, to support and to make sure that they are vital and growing and that they meet a need that otherwise would have to be done by government at probably a more expensive amount of money. And so we do applaud government for thinking about us. And there's lots of folks out there looking for resources, I'm sure, these days, but we think that we are a very deserving group. So thank you very much for your kindness and support. So that really concludes the events of the day. Thank you all for coming. We'd like you to stay around and mingle. There may be some media here that would like to do some interviews, so people will be available for that. So I just want to thank you for coming and the great crowd, and you're always welcome to come back, and we'll give you a tour of our facility and our new home when it gets built. Thank you.